Hey everybody, we're back here at Eyecelerator alongside Arvo in Deer Valley. And I am surrounded by some friends of the industry. Welcome everybody.
Thank you.
Well, to my far left is Professor Kuldev Singh. Kuldev is Professor of Ophthalmology and Director of the Glaucoma Service at Stanford University. For here on my far right is Dr. Rajesh Rajpal, is the founder and medical director of the See Clearly Vision Group. Right here to my immediate right is Lejla Vajzovic, a surgical and medical retina specialist and professor of ophthalmology at Duke University. Welcome, Lejla.
Thank you, Matt.
And on my left is Dr. Robert Avery, founder and CEO of California Retina Consultants in Santa Barbara. All right, well, let's get started. Artificial intelligence and deep learning, those are making waves in both glaucoma and retina. How do you envision AI being most effectively integrated into clinical workflows?
Well, I actually think AI has already hit the retina practice in many ways. But where I find it the most interesting, AI, is in our therapeutic treatment decisions. We have several companies, several entities that are looking at the EZ zone, the ellipsoid zone, the photoreceptor layer, and geographic atrophy. And based on that, you can tell who's going to progress faster with geographic atrophy and who's going to respond better, pegcetacoplan. And that data can help us decide whether to use a drug that may or may not help. And that's game-changing.
AI is also going to be able to better predict which drugs will go on to fail in phase 3 than we've been able to do in the past based on phase 2 data. So I think AI will really save a lot of money and help this enterprise.
I'm going to switch gears to clinical setting. While it's helping us kind of treat the patients, it's also helping us communicate with the patients. You know, there are barriers in communications in terms of setting, in terms of cultural differences. And we are truly a global environment these days. And I can definitely use that AI-guided tool to really tell them what the disease status is and to help them digest the information that I'm presenting to them and ultimately help them, get better.
Very interestingly, I'm aware of at least one company that is doing AI examinations for the initial part of the discussion for cataract surgery to interact with the patient and seeing great results with that. So it may ultimately even allow us to help understand which patients are the most appropriate candidates for a presbyopic IOL, for example.
What recent developments do you think are truly game-changing for patient outcomes based on your knowledge or anything you've seen today?
Well, I think the big unknown right now is whether or not we're going to be able to get away from eye drops. We have some new technologies that have become available recently where you can have extended release therapeutics. At the same time, if laser trabeculoplasty becomes easier and it's as effective as drops or maybe even more effective than drops, will people start with laser?
Definitely keeping up with all the drop regimen is challenging for our patients. I love the fact that we have potentially easier laser options because that could be one and done type of treatment. Just like in retinal world, we're looking for longer duration therapies for our patients to combat chronic disease such as glaucoma.
I agree. It's going to be about the future with gene therapy, changing the types of treatment options we have for patients. And as we're making progress in all aspects of ophthalmology, to have less topical treatment, I think ultimately our patients are going to benefit.
I would say it's a retinal drug delivery for me. Now we have these ways using gene therapy or extended release of both TKIs and large molecules to allow us to relieve that treatment burden dramatically in the future. And that's the game changer as I see it.
As innovation accelerates, or I suppose accelerates, how can we ensure the science remains both rigorous and relevant, particularly when translating promising research into clinical realities?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think forums like this, Eyecelerator, where we have the people that are all interested in that innovation ecosystem, all keeping each other honest. It's a matter of then getting the data, sharing it, publishing it, but then also being able to use that for commercial reimbursement and guiding that entire process. Of course, the regulatory pathway is part of that too. So I think it's the partnership between all of us.
This is a very, very important topic because when you have failures, and there will be failures, you want early failures. Phase 3 failures are catastrophic in terms of money loss. And if you see more wins, or at least don't have late losses, that supports the ecosystem and more money comes in. If we want a healthy ecosystem, we have to police our own area, our own field, to make sure that the money is spent on things that will lead to helping patients and generating revenue for people who then come back.
I think one other thing that's going to help police the relevance is the difficulty achieving funding these days. Sometimes companies can get FDA approval, but that's not the end of the game. It has to be commercially relevant. And I think it's the whole environment here, as Raj mentioned, the investors and everyone trying to figure out what to fund that help keep it relevant, because it's not just getting through the FDA anymore.
In the real world setting, we can be designing all kinds of trials to get the drug approved, but unless it's really clinically applicable and really finding the way in the real world setting, that's not going to really be a success. I think combination of a meeting where you have all these players in one room discussing all of those really makes the product good for our patients and taking care of them for certain.
Collaboration across academia, industry, and clinical practice seems essential to progress. What are the key ingredients for effective collaboration in advancing glaucoma and retina research?
Well, I think it's everything we just touched on. It's having an idea that meets an unmet need. Then it's finding the right protection from an intellectual property perspective, finding the capital, coming up with a regulatory pathway, and then getting to the commercialization, which is really what we all need for success. We need the clinical sites to do the studies. We need the clinicians frequently to bring in the ideas in addition to other sources. And then we need industry to help us fund this.
We really want scientists, investors, regulators to all be assembled together and have as much dialogue as possible as early as possible. There's a reason there's such a huge appetite for these types of meetings because they're successful in getting people to be successful in whatever they're doing.
All right, well, to our audience out there around the world and to everyone here in proximity at the Eyecelerator meeting in Deer Valley, we thank you for joining us, and certainly to our panelists as well. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.